Hey everybody. Currently at the office right now working on some claims. I did want to make a comment, short video on TCAVA, Taking Care of America's Veterans Act. I'm sure by now you guys have already heard what's going on online, on YouTube. A lot of folks are talking about it. Legislators are talking about it. VSOs are talking about it. Veterans are talking about it as well. What is my opinion? So it's a little bit complicated. I'm a government employee. County VSOs are government employees. We can't give an official position on that. I can tell you from my own perspective, my own opinion of what has to do with that. What I will say is that it needs some work. It needs some work. This package needs some work, okay? There's 60 something different bills in this one big bill. A lot of those, most of those are all necessary. We need some of those programs, some of those benefits that TCAVA will implement. The main issue, the biggest issue, and from what I've seen online and from talking with veterans, it's been brought up many times. Veterans come to us, their county VSOs, for advice and to pick our brains about these things. I will say the main issue is the funding for it. As a veteran, I am not comfortable with taking something from someone else. That is what that's going to do. Now, the American Legion and other, organizations and individuals will say, "Oh, well, we're not taking anything." Well, yeah, because they haven't gotten it yet. But what you're doing is taking away their ability to get that benefit. For you to file for hearing loss, for you to file for tinnitus, for you to file for sleep apnea, those two, tinnitus and sleep apnea, take those away. Tinnitus is the most filed for condition in the VA. Almost everybody has that. And the VA grants it due to service connection. Now, what they're saying is for you to be able to get tinnitus, you have to have the underlying condition of hearing loss. Well, not everybody has that. You could have had one loud bang or a small but loud noise, and that could set off your tinnitus. So you might not necessarily have prolonged hearing loss or exposure, but you could have tinnitus. So taking that away is a huge problem. Same thing with sleep apnea. The VA has granted sleep apnea for all kinds of different things, directly service connected if it started in service. Most folks did not complain about that in service, so it's a bit hard to get, but it's not impossible. I've seen the VA grant sleep apnea secondary to things like PTSD. So definitely not something that is unheard of for sure, but taking away the ability of other veterans to file for those benefits is a huge problem. I take issue with that. I'm service connected for tinnitus, so it was the first thing I was ever service connected for. So hearing that and reading that is definitely an issue, because they don't have to do that. They don't have to take that away. Okay. The second point that I want to make here is that folks are saying that, well, the VA's been working on taking that away for years anyways. True, but they have not implemented it. They have not gone through and done it. And as folks can see with what happened earlier at the beginning of the year with when the VA decided that if you take medication for conditions, that your conditions, the rating should be lower because medication works, and you saw the backlash that they received for that, and then they ended up rescinding that. Okay, so nothing is ever set in stone with the VA. The problem is that if Congress decides that they're going to step into the rating game and they're going to decide when they can take and put in ratings and service connected conditions, that becomes a problem. Because now, instead of it just being the VA Now it's an actual bill, it's an actual law, and that is a lot harder to get changed around than how we did with the beginning of the year with the medication situation. So I don't believe Congress should be getting involved with things like that. It establishes a very dangerous precedent. And a lot of folks can say, hey, well, Congress has done that before with other bills. True. However, we don't want it to become a pattern. We don't want it to become a thing. That anytime Congress needs money to pay for something, they could just go and take it away from VA benefits. They can take a rating away, or they can do this, or lower a rating. It's not up to them, and it shouldn't be up to them. So I definitely think that it's something that all veterans should be aware of, all veterans should be looking into, and the spouses as well, their dependents. Everyone should be getting in on this. Currently, as it stands, today's July 22nd, currently as it stands, the biggest veteran service organizations that are really fighting back right now are the DAV, Disabled American Veterans, as well as the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. On the other side, there's other organizations with them, of course. Those are the biggest ones. On the other side of the coin is the American Legion and other organizations as well as of course the politicians that are really pushing to get this passed. I keep seeing, oh, veterans are divided. I don't think so. If you look at Facebook, if you look at YouTube, if you look at social media, it is very, very, very tilted in one direction. Veterans overwhelmingly oppose not just TCAVA. It's not the entire thing. It's the funding mechanism. The problem is how to pay for it. You shouldn't have to take something from future veterans, people that are in service right now, take something from them that they'll probably get to help pay for something today. It's not good. I don't think that it's, consciously, I can't agree with that. Individually, I just don't agree with that. Especially if it's something like tinnitus and sleep apnea, which are extremely common in veterans. If it was something that was less common, I think the pushback wouldn't be so hard. If it was a more niche health condition that very few folks get, if anyone at all, maybe there'll be less pushback. Not saying that they should do that anyways, but I think there would be a bit less pushback. But it's literally, the most common conditions that veterans get. So quite an issue there. Don't agree with that at all. I've had so many conversations with veterans over the phone and in person regarding this bill. And folks bring up things like, oh, well, PACT Act, and things like that. PACT Act overwhelmingly was supported by veterans. This is the exact opposite. Veterans are overwhelmingly against this one provision, how it's filed. It's not that they're against TCAVA, it's that they're against how it's going to be funded. And think about it. There's a lot of things on social media. I know that the government, not the government, the politicians that are really pushing this are saying we're not taking anything from anybody. That's like their main point there. Like I said earlier before, you kind of are from future veterans. And then think about it. If someone goes in and wants to file an increase to sleep apnea, that might affect their rating. You know what I mean? Because now going forward, if it passes, those changes are you'll be grandfathered in. Nothing will happen to your tinnitus or your sleep apnea if you don't file for anything, any changes, any increases or anything like that. But if you were to file an increase for sleep apnea, you can't file an increase for tinnitus. If you were to file an increase to sleep apnea, that might not work out for you very well. So keep that in mind. And then also, according to the VA, the whole plan is to make tinnitus a symptom of hearing loss. What if you don't have hearing loss? So now you can't get hearing loss or tinnitus. which is a huge problem. Tinnitus is a big deal. You can file a lot of conditions secondary to tinnitus. Things like migraines, headaches, vestibular issues, balance issues, mental health, anxiety, depression due to tinnitus is very, very common. So, I take issue with that. I don't agree with the funding mechanism. I think they have some work to do. It's unfortunate regarding the timing of it. We're in July now. Midterms are coming up. The Hill, they're all about to leave. I think tomorrow's the last day of work, and then they leave for a couple of weeks. So not a whole lot is going to be not a whole lot is going to be done, unfortunately. So hopefully, they can find a way to fix that. They can find a way to fund it without having to take benefits from future veterans. Hopefully you guys, make yourselves aware, look things up, contact your representatives, let them know where you stand. And, again, if you have any questions, reach out to your county VSOs, file for these conditions in case it passes. If you have not filed for tinnitus or sleep apnea and you have a claim, okay, don't just file for it just because, right? You can't do that. If you have the condition and you have the condition, get familiar with the rating, see if it applies to you, talk to your VSO, put in a claim for the conditions if you haven't done it already, okay? So that it's already filed. If they make a change, it will not affect you. You've already filed the claim. They're going to go off of the rules from before the law changed, okay? But if you wait, it might be an issue in the future. Okay, thanks for listening. I wanted to get that out. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. I just wanted to give my own personal little 2 cents there. Take it or leave it. That's what I think. I'm a senior VSO. I think I know what I'm talking about. Take care, guys.